For example, there is an interesting 1930 study. The time when women are most aroused and want to be most sexually active is the 1-2 days right before their period and the 8th to 11th days after their period. Okay, that's it. Friends, welcome to the İnce channel. I'm Özgür Uysal, and I'll continue to tell you all that is not taught at work or at school, with all its research and the finest details, in such a silver tray. Because we prepare you for life and bed. The slogan is great, the channel is great, this is a great service. I've lived in Turkey for 38 years, and I have never seen such service. It's been such a struggle. Now I can't stop praising myself. I praise myself like this sometimes. Praise me in the comments. I'm joking. I really love you guys. And this is not something to be done without loving it anyway. If the entire team behind the camera didn't do this job with such sincerity, I don't think they'd sit here and listen to me rave about it. And as a final footnote, we love you very much. What am I going to tell you about this week? This week I'll talk about the bleeding wound of Turkey, the issue of menstruation, which is seen as a very normal thing in Turkey, but in some third world countries it's seen as strangely shameful and dirty. If you're ready, shall we start? Our broadcast is about to begin. Please like, share, and comment, and we'd be happy if you follow. On Instagram, you'll see early announcements from the İnce TV and Ben Özgür Uysal accounts. Our tour will start soon. We are waiting for you. If you love us, you can click the join button and benefit from special member benefits, like videos we do not publish, videos that were published and removed, or videos we publish for members only. Thank you for supporting us for years. We wouldn't be us if it weren't for you. I'm doing it out of spite because Ahmet survived the surgery. We have a new surgery victim right now. Ahmet handed over the ear without leaving his own ear. Friends, this period topic is truly a strange one that pops up every month. It was also talked about during the pandemic. Should supermarkets sell them in black bags, or should it be removed from the shelves? Do we put them side by side with condoms? There is something interesting about menstruation. But let's start from its history. I'm not going to start with any kind of gender glorification or anything. I will give you examples so you can see where our mindset is at the moment. At the end, I will also express my own opinions. Now, where does the word Regl come from? The French word Regl means order, regularity, rule. Why? Because this is a menstrual cycle that the body performs as a rule every 28 days. That's why the French word Regl, meaning regular, has passed into our Turkish. The most commonly used word is Regl. If we turn towards the east, the word menstruation comes from the Arabic root Âdet, and that means recurring. We use recurring in Turkish as something that is established through repetition. We use it in the sense of it being customary. This is what the Âdet means of the recurring root. Âdet, like Regl, in French, is also used in Arabic to mean something that is repeated or that happens regularly, even if every 28 days. So far so good, the origin is very good. So, menstruating and having periods are very good. But there is a problem with the actual usage in the common language. There we can see the real people's attitude towards menstruation. In Turkish it means to become colorful, to get dirty, to have a guest, or being on certain days, and Black Wednesday. Or worse, being sick. So there are uses like getting sick, like it was related to a virus. There are also usages like the coming of a Red Army that date back to the 80s. This is one of the things we add our humor to and make funny. So what is the subject of Regl called in other countries and other cultures? In the UK, it is used as a monthly visitor, also something like Aunt Flo, that is, Aunt Flo came. Why did they do something to this ant? When the flow comes from the flow, when the flow ant came. They use a meaning like they made such a pun. How is French used? You know we got règle, but what do the French say among the people? La saison de fraises, they call strawberry season. Look at romance, strawberry season. Les Anglais sont arrivés, it means the British have come. I mean, what kind of use is that? We can't quite understand why they call it like that, but they said, Les Anglais sont arrivés. The British came and used such a phrase among the people. And le général rouge est en ville, meaning the general has come to town. But since general means both the general and in general, it can be said that something that happens in general has come to town. But they say the general has come to town. Something like our Red Army, I guess. So the French also preferred this usage. How is it used in German? Every culture has its own uses. They call it Auslaufmodell, which means it's expired. So the Germans approach the issue quite technically and automotive, in the sense that it can no longer be used or out of treatment. In other words, the old model. I guess the product here is the egg cup they are talking about. It has been replaced by a new model, a higher model update. Something like that. I guess I don't understand the Germans very much. They approach the subject technically and mechanically as Germans. They call it the Red King, again a general, again a similar topic exists among the people, as you can see. So they say, I killed a baby, a typical German. No, say, I committed genocide. It means I killed a baby, so that's pretty much normal usage. It's not normal for us at all, but I think it's normal for them too. This is how they can be used in public. They also use it like the red aunt came. Again, there are Germans, and there is an aunt. Like the Aunt Flo for the British, the Germans also say that a red-haired aunt has come. They describe menstruation with the arrival of an aunt. In Chinese, there's a usage like 大姨妈. It means regular vacation. And since the Chinese are constantly working, they must have approached the ovary like a holiday. Every culture has its own approach to menstruation, as we can see. There are a lot of strange beliefs in history. For example, in ancient Roman times, they believed that menstruation brought a curse that controlled the weather and ruined the health of crops and crops. In other words, women are actually seen as witches. Ancient Rome believed that menstruation was something dirty, viral, and evil that controlled the weather and ruined the health of crops and crops. Although this was the case in ancient Rome, it was also the case in Vietnam in the 1920s. Bella Schicht is a Vietnamese researcher. In the 1920s, they investigated whether beer spoiled their crops when menstruating women walked around. Think about it. This is a topic that was researched in the 1920s, and even then someone seriously researched it. A study was conducted in Vietnam in the 1920s, showing that humans cannot even grow as tall as a barley corn, the size of the barley corn from which that beer is produced. In the Middle Ages, they thought that having sex during menstruation corroded the penis, and that drinking menstrual blood caused leprosy. Are you in the Iron Age? What are you doing? What are you using when you're having sex? So what is it to rust the penis? Are they using something? That's weird. Let's try it here in an automotive, huh? Spray some rust remover on it? They also think that drinking menstrual blood causes leprosy. Don't drink it anyway. It's not something that says like drink it cold or something like that. I mean, why do you drink it and think it'll cause leprosy? Bon appetit. Anyway, this is the Middle Ages I'm talking about. Again, in the Middle Ages, the church believed that menstruation was a regular punishment given to Eve for her sins. So, menstruation is actually a punishment for women. This woman is the first woman, Lilith, who is one of the first women. Those who watch In Sichler know, I explained it in detail. But after Lilith, Lilith has already been punished for her sins, along with that Jewish mythology. Christian mythology also thought they were punishing Eve. That's why they believed that women menstruated and had menstrual pain. So they don't know that it has anything to do with birth or anything like that. There was no technology back then. In the Middle Ages, this was thought to be a punishment given to women. But on the other hand, in Africa, menstrual blood is an aphrodisiac. They even put it in the man's coffee so that he can both increase his sexual performance and become attached to the woman he is with. Now look at two separate places and approaches. One is completely associated with nature. The other is punishments, penis rusting and such. Another belief is that hair should not be dyed or waxed during menstruation. The hairs are not pulled out anymore, they grow faster, or they'll also believe that hair dye does not hold. In Hinduism and some beliefs of Buddhism, women stay in adobe houses outside the village when they are menstruating. So women who were menstruating were forced to stay in adobe houses so they wouldn't bring bad luck to the village. They are perceived as something filthy that brings bad luck. It has nothing to do with religion. This is the general approach to women. I mean, there's nothing to do with menstruation. When it is related to belief, there are beliefs like bad luck, as if it is a punishment, that such evil things come out of a woman, etc. In Japan, menstruating women can't touch food and flowers. And the British also think that it would spoil the taste of the food, as if English cuisine is so delicious. You make fish and chips, boy, you fry fish. They have a ridiculous kitchen anyway. Something that is tasteless cannot be spoiled, my friends. I think they should evaluate their own food first. Now, we also have such information through hearsay. So it doesn't just belong to the British, the Japanese, the Hindu, the Buddhist. We also have some beliefs about the woman who has a period. For example, we want women not to touch pickles during their period. In Anatolia, they believe menstruating women cannot touch pickles because they spoil the taste of pickles. There is a belief that if you wait too long, it will spoil the product. And they believe menstrual pains go away after giving birth. It might be the case with menstruation, maybe in some cases. But there is also such a belief that once you give birth, it passes. What is scientifically known is that after birth, the ovary area and the cysts are removed, and the woman gains a healthier ovary. But it's not something that has been scientifically proven to be definitive and clear. Maybe there is a fixed issue in some instances. Maybe it was the cyst pain that went away when it was renewed, etc. And such a settled belief may have formed in Anatolia. It makes sense. It is also said that they cannot take a bath when you are on period. Another one is that if a girl who is on her period looks at a newborn, spots will appear on the baby's body for the rest of its life. So, in some parts of Anatolia, women are not allowed near newborn babies while on their period to avoid freckles and birthmarks. If you also have beliefs that you know, write them down. That's what I found. So, while menstruation is actually being despised in some regions, in the Asian region, they organize menstrual festivals that last for 4 days. They celebrate a festival a certain day of the year. Think of the pilgrims as their monks. Pilgrims attend the festival and they bless and honor a god called Kamakya, a birth-related goddess. And the pilgrims honor her with a festival called Assam. So menstruation is honored in some parts. In some parts of the world, it is condemned and perceived as something bad, filthy, stained, dirty. So what do you think about sexual intercourse during menstruation, for example? I wonder what people think about this. Apart from those ancient times when it was believed that the penis was rusty and brought bad luck, do you think it is still seen as something dirty today? It's interesting. I think it needs to be discussed in the comments. For example, there is a 1930 study stating the period when women are most aroused and want to be sexually active is the 1-2 days immediately before their period and the 8th to 11th day after their period. Okay? That's the period when she starts laying eggs, which we call the ovulation period. Yes, we know that already. They did a study, they showed women to men, and when they asked which one they liked the most, they said they found women who were ovulating attractive. We have an instinctive thing like that. Of course, test it yourself to see if women get more aroused during their period, if they enjoy sex more, etc. But when they ask women, they say that they have more sex during their period. They don't have that dirty feeling psychology. Now, I'll leave the psychological aspect aside, but physically, sex during menstruation is good for pain, especially because orgasm, along with the endorphins it releases, actually reduces those menstrual pains along with the contractions, and also reduces that pain, that feeling of fullness in the body. This is a scientific biological fact. At the same time, it has a soothing effect on women who are stressed during their menstrual period. So, orgasm is not actually sold in pharmacies. It is something that a person can do on their own. Can we say that stress and quarrels come to a house where orgasm does not enter? We say it's quite comfortable in Auslaufmodell. There is also research done in the 1930s that shows that the time when women desire sexual intercourse the most is 1 to 2 days before their period. Can you even make a law about this, by the way? It's called PMS. So there is a period called premenstrual syndrome, PMS period. If a woman is in her PMS period, for example, the crimes she commits, violent crimes, etc., can be cited as a mitigating factor. Isn't it fantastic that a woman is before her period? Some women are like that. You can tell right away that they are having PMS. Okay, stop, don't touch it. You want to keep her away, or something like that. That's interesting. And the late Robbie Williams has a saying, if women ruled the world, there would be no wars, but there would be tough negotiations every 28 days. I think he's right, but every woman's period has a different effect on their bodies. Some women have really high levels of aggression, anger, and stress. The effect is different for everyone, but PMS exists. Everyone knows it, every man and every woman knows it. So are pads a new thing? So, is the subject we call pads new? Something that was used even in ancient Egypt, actually. In ancient Egypt, so much was done about the sexuality of women, a civilization that had advanced tremendously in terms of sexuality. For example, papyrus and cloths wrapped in wood were used as pads. I'm talking about 3000s and 4000s BC, my friends. In 1929, Dr. Earlyhouse invented the tampon as we know it today. A tailor made tampons by sewing herself and on a sewing machine. It has been used since 1929. Pads also started to be used around the same time because in World War I, a little before, they discovered that the bandages used to absorb the blood of soldiers were very good at absorbing blood, and they started to sell them to women as pads. While developing this pet issue, people caused a big disaster in 1974. The leak-proof pads we use today, they make a leak-proof pad from cellulose. However, since this leak-proof pad does not absorb the blood completely, it causes bacterial growth and a fatal disease, resulting in serial deaths. They are very quickly withdrawing those cellulose pads from the market. And after such a dramatic event, there is such a tragedy. Now, the issue of women's periods and all of these have been placed into culture throughout history in order to suppress women, to position women as dirty and constantly seducible objects. This is all social engineering. Why? Because a woman should not be able to leave the house and should not have sex with others. When a man goes to war, women are actually sinners. Placing this burden on women, saying that women are the root of all sins, and leaving women at home with all that burden, and the fear that women will have sex with someone else and embarrass their men, is completely social engineering. As a sociologist and someone who has a PhD in gender equality, I can tell you this clearly. This has been written this way in every religion throughout history. These are not things that are unique to us. In Judaism, there is Lilith. As you know, the first woman or the first wife of Adam, she says, I will not say okay to Adam, I will not worship Adam. I was created equal with Adam. I can be with him if I want. They curse Lilith and say that she will haunt all uncircumcised children for 40 days in the beginning. She either takes the life of the child, that is the early death of the child, or she takes the life of the mother. They attributed the embolism to Lilith, or they also attributed the pains that the mother experienced with the drop in blood sugar during the postpartum period to Lilith. They say she haunts the mother in the first 40 days, the first months. It causes the mother to be haunted by such demons, to be haunted by those devils, and to have such delusions, and to go crazy. They attributed the hypoglycemia during the postpartum period to Lilith, since there was no such thing as medicine. It both denigrates women and forces uncircumcised men to undergo circumcision. In other words, it is a beautiful and magnificent plot set up through women to keep the society under control and keep it under pressure. Another wonderful plot. It's the same with Eve. Eve wanted the apple and said, let's take a bite, my dear Adam. In other words, they created a perception in Eve as if she thought of this on her own and suppressed Adam. They also said that she would menstruate and suffer from menstrual pain because of her sins, thus connecting menstruation and sin. So, as if this is not about menstruation at all, there is this social engineering. It's amazing. We are still continuing this today. We are doing it at such levels that there is still such ignorance. There are still mindsets from ancient Rome. Why are pads left open on supermarket shelves? For example, if I were to ask someone on the street if they have a pad on, everyone would criticize me, right? If I shouted to see if anyone had diapers, someone would give them to me, right? There is no difference. Just as a child's need to go to the toilet is a biological need, a woman does not choose to do this every 28 days. You exist today because of those menstrual cycles. If our mothers didn't have menstrual cycles, we wouldn't be here today. It is also a healthy, natural thing that should happen. Putting it in the same category as condoms is the biggest ignorance in the world. Condoms can be chosen, menstruation is not. So, a pad is something that falls into the same category as a diaper. There is still a luxury consumption tax on pads, as if having a period is a luxury. They chose to have it. It's not like buying a boat. This is a constant need of the body, like bread or water. But our people are against giving out pads openly. I am dirty, I am sick, I am ill, as if this were an illness. They have to use such terms when it's the healthiest thing in the world. There are such strange beliefs that cause women to feel dirty and that cause society to perceive this as dirty. And they do not change. This can still be discussed. Now, everything is recorded with ultrasound, biology has been solved, and we have moved on to subatomic physics. We have now almost solved every atom, every cell, every piece of DNA in the ovary. The subject is over, but this is happening again. But still, ignorant people can say this and gain respect. Isn't that funny? No, it's tragic. And we have been trying to end this tragedy for years, together with